So I was stirring my Jack Daniels into my cornflakes this morning when I had a bit of an epiphany. You see, I've been wrong about Captain Marvel this whole time. But Drinker, you charismatic stallion, I hear you ask, how could you, a dedicated connoisseur of cinema, be wrong about something as clear-cut as this? Well, I'll tell you. The problem is that I've been looking at this movie as a cheap, bland, soulless and divisive attempt to cash in on feminism and contemporary identity politics, featuring an unpopular comic book character that's been repeatedly cancelled and relaunched with increasing futility, and played by an actress that possesses all the charm, charisma and likability of my underwear after a 2-hour gym session. But I was wrong to look at it that way. You see, this movie is important. It's important in a way that no other film in cinema has ever been. It's a movie that features a strong, powerful, independent female character, and that's something we've never really had before, so we need to get behind this film, guys. This made me realise that the reason I didn't see this was because of my own toxic masculinity and my internalised misogyny. The problems really began with my parents instilling the wrong values in me as a kid, and it's hardly surprising when you consider the kind of movies they had to watch when they were younger. I mean, look at this! The women back then were portrayed as weak, helpless damsels in distress. They weren't capable of looking after themselves, and they couldn't hold their own against their male counterparts. Flash forward to the 1980s and the 90s when I was a little kid, and you can clearly see that things aren't getting any better. These women are just helpless, over-sexualized objects for men to fight over and possess. They don't have any agency or abilities of their own. They can't fight. They can't protect themselves. They simply crumble whenever a man's around, and they become weak, timid little creatures that need to be constantly saved and protected. And don't even mention the James Bond movies around that time. God, the women there were just on screen to look good. They certainly never represented any kind of threat to Bond. And it's not like women on TV shows ever had any meaningful conflicts or relationships with each other either. Their whole worlds were just centered around men. It's like they had nothing else going on in their lives, no aspirations or rivalries, just wishing they could find a good man to protect and look after them. Sci-fi was no better. The women there were equally helpless, weak, timid, and entirely lacking in agency. They were never portrayed as smart, capable, resourceful, or dangerous in their own right. I mean, really, the actresses playing them must have felt ashamed of what they were being forced to do. Look at this here. What a humiliation. There's not even a hint of skill or strength on display, and it's not like any of these women could ever hope to be cool. That's just insane. Even when you get into the 2000s, there wasn't much improvement. I mean, look at how weak and frightened this woman is, how she can't possibly protect herself, and she's just getting completely owned by all these men. It's awful, really. She's certainly never going to be able to take on her mentor, the man who represents male authority and patriarchy and toxic masculinity. Those things she'll just never overcome. Female supporting characters? No way, they were never allowed to do anything useful. And it's not like we ever had black superheroes either back then. That really was an awful time. So you see, this is why Captain Marvel's such an important movie. We need to get behind this film and give girls and women someone they can look up to. But also, we need to teach men that women can be strong and cool and likable as well. So I, for one, can't wait for Captain Marvel to come out. And I'll be there on opening night to bask in all of its glory. Now, if you can't appreciate the sarcasm in this video, then you almost certainly should go and see this movie because I suspect you're the target audience. Now, I'm not advocating for a boycott of Captain Marvel because I think things like that are childish and petty. But on a completely unrelated note, I've heard it's pretty easy to buy tickets for a different movie and screen hop your way into this instead. It's just something to think about.